एक person.
A person is born in a Brahman family or in a family of dog eaters due to his past activities. If a person is born in a family of eaters, it means that his past activities are all sinful. But even but ever if even such a person takes the path of devotional service and begins to chant the holy name of Lord Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna,
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 Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama Rama,
Rama
Hare
Rama,
Hare.
Hare Hare.
He is at once fit to perform the ritualistic ceremonies. This means that all his sinful reactions have immediately become neutralized.
Okay, very good. So thank you for that, Garangi. Yeah, we were reading last week about how the result of our activities can be sinful. And if we just scroll up to the previous paragraph, if you wouldn't mind, please, Sachin.
Yes, Prabhu.
We were reading how the nature of karma is that we can always expect to get the results of our past activities. And even as devotees, we should understand that by taking up devotional service, there is this cycle of karma. It's like a wheel. Sometimes it's likened to a tree, whereby you plant a seed and gradually you get the fruits coming from the tree when this tree is actually germinated and grown sufficiently. So, in the course of time, we get the reactions of our activities. And the process of stopping that karma is sometimes described as being like a wheel which is spinning, or like a fan which is spinning very fast. And when we take up devotional service, it's like unplugging the fan so that it gradually starts to slow down. So we shouldn't expect that all of a sudden we're going to be relieved of all our karmic reactions, but gradually we'll find the effects of that karma have worn off. Because as Krishna is explaining in Bhagavad Gita also, he says, Ye yatamam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham. Each as they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. So as we begin the path of surrendering to Krishna, we're actually unplugging the fan, and gradually that fan speed is slowing down with all our karmic reactions. And when we become fully fixed in devotional service, then that karmic reaction is completely stopped. So here we're looking at the nature of devotional service has got the power to nullify all kinds of reactions to sinful deeds. But always we have to bear in mind that a devotee is nevertheless always alert not to commit any sinful activities. This is his specific qualification as a devotee. Okay, so looking up to the next bit of that paragraph, thus the Srimad Bhagavatam states that by performing devotional service, a person who was born even in a family of dog eaters may become eligible to take part in the performance of the ritualistic ceremonies recommended in the Vedas. And it's implicit in this statement that a person born in a family of dog eaters is generally not fit for performing yajna or sacrifice. So actually, we have to get free from our sinful reactions. But here we see that by becoming a Vaishnava, actually we immediately become free from those contaminations, and we immediately become able to perform the priestly duties which are performed by the Brahmins. Because the Brahmins are the ones who are actually meant for performing those duties. But Prabhupada put it like this. He said, so by becoming Vaishnava, you become fit and qualified to perform the Brahmin activities and perform sacrifices. He said, but don't take it like that, because actually we should not think that now I'm very qualified and now I become able to perform all the pious Brahmin activities. Actually, we're learning how to engage in devotional service. And this is the process. Because as we'll see in due course here, that a Vaishnava is considered on a higher platform than a Brahmana. So anyway, in this situation here, we can see that someone, if they take to the path of devotional service and begin the chanting of Hare Krishna, then we're at once fit to perform those ritualistic activities. So the sinful reactions have immediately become neutralized, but still we need to purify the heart so the seeds of other sinful activities do not germinate and fructify. Is that okay? Hare Krishna Narayan, welcome Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Really sorry. Sometimes I have to work a bit late, so I couldn't join earlier. Very sorry.
That's all right. Please put your knuckles out. I've got a ruler. Oh, okay. All right. Hare Krishna. Okay. Thank you for coming anyway. This is most important. Okay. So anybody got any questions or comments about what we were just reading and discussing there?
Prabhu, I mean, I think we are just continuing on what we read last time. So, yeah, like we don't need any qualification, and I think you cleared my doubt as well, right? I was thinking someone it's just like anyone can start at any point of time. You don't need anything previously, and with devotee association only it happens. And this point is also very helpful, where you don't need to do austerities, this that. Anyone, any sinner can just start chanting, and that take care of the sinful reactions, and that makes you fit to perform the this chanting. But I think you just mentioned, right? But still we need to make efforts to not make mistakes, right? So that will not be part of this, like that mercy. You will get mercy which will correct the sinful reactions of your past activities with the chanting, but how we should be careful, that's what this particular passage is trying to be explained, right?
Yes. Actually, and also this point about becoming freed from sinful reactions. The sinful reactions may be stopped because the devotee knows, Lord Brahma, he's explained that, as we'll see from the next paragraph, how the different stages of karmic reactions are there. But Lord Brahma has explained that tatenu kampam susamikshamano bunjana evatma kritam vipakam hridvagva purbi vidadam namaste jivete yo mukti pade sadayabhak. That one who continues to suffer the reactions of his own past impious deeds and continues to glorify the Lord from within the core of his heart attains the kingdom of God, because it is his rightful heritage. So the principle being that by simply carrying on being the son of your father, you naturally inherit in due course the property of your father. And in the same way, by carrying on with devotional service in spite of all the reactions to our own past impious deeds, which in the case of a devotee, the reactions are actually stopped. But Krishna gives still token reactions so that we don't become too complacent. So he experienced problems and issues in our lives as token reactions of our past sinful activities. And that is actually meant for keeping us on our toes. And one who continues to suffer those apparent reactions from within and continues to glorify the Lord from within the core of the heart gradually makes progress for going back home, back to Godhead. So these 2 points, token reactions, those are actually the mercy of Krishna to help us come fully to our senses. And we carry on with devotional service because we have to purify the heart from all the seeds of sinful desires and reactions which are still there and which haven't yet fructified. Is that okay? Is that making sense?
Yes,
Yes,
Prabhu.
Prabhuji.
Yes. Go ahead, Prabhu. Yeah.
Okay, so let's read on to the next paragraph then. Who'd like to read this next paragraph? It is stated in the Padma Purana.
Prabhuji, I'll read it.
Okay, thank you.
Sachin Prabhuji, can you just zoom in a little bit more, please? It is stated in the Padma Puran, thank you. It is stated in the Padma Puran that there are 4 kinds of effects due to sinful activities, which are listed as follows. The effect which is not yet fructified, the effect which is lying as seed, the effect which is already mature, and the effect which is almost mature. It is also stated that all these 4 effects become immediately vanquished for those who surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu and become engaged in his devotional service in full Krishna consciousness.
Okay,
Those
so this
effects.
is, okay, just to clarify, this important word, the third word from the end of that sentence, in full Krishna consciousness. So, as we discussed, that verse in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, each as they surrender to me, I reward them accordingly. So, depending on the level of our surrender, those 4 effects become immediately vanquished. So we need to therefore pursue and carry on with our Krishna consciousness, and gradually, as we become perfectly engaged in devotional service, in pure devotional service, unmixed with materialistic activities which are meant for our own satisfaction, then the reactions become fully eradicated. Is that okay?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Any questions or comments on that? Is that clear enough?
Yeah, Prabhuji, I have a question. The 4 effects which are listed, the first is the effect which is not yet fructified. Okay.
Yes.
And the effect which is lying as seed. Could you exemplify these 2, please?
Okay, so the idea being that we'll see this gradually explained in the next paragraphs, but the whole principle is that when we perform sinful activities in this material world, then it isn't that the reaction comes immediately. It's like when you plant a seed, the seed has maybe not yet fructified or germinated. And the next thing is there's also the effect which is still lying as a seed within the heart, because when we perform sinful activities, that sows the seed for more sinful activities. Because, for example, if I get some happiness from performing, or some sense gratification for performing some sinful activity, that plants a seed that if I do that sort of sinful activity again, that desire can come up and again engage us in devotion, in sinful activities. And so the idea being that the karma may not be instant. It can take some time to happen. Just like if somebody is a criminal and performs some criminal act, it may be some time before he gets arrested and punished for that activity. But still, also the effect which is lying as seed means that as a result of that activity, we may develop that desire to again engage in sinful activity, but that sinful activity hasn't manifested yet. It's going to come in the future. It's going to, just like if you find a pond somewhere, sometimes all of a sudden some bubble will come up from the bottom of the surface, from the bottom of the pond, and create some bad odor. So in the same way, in our hearts, there are seeds of sinful desire also there, and in due course that may come up and encourage us to engage in more sinful activity. So, in other words, this whole subtle nature of karma and karmic activity and the reactions, it can take time to process. So, just like in this life, we're experiencing desires to act in particular ways, which are results of association we've had in this life and also from previous lives. Is that, am I making myself clear?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes.
Okay. And so we'll see also the effect which is already mature means we're already suffering the reactions of those activities. And the effect which almost is mature, which means it's just waiting around the corner. So we can expect that something inauspicious may happen. Are we okay with that?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, any questions or comments or thoughts? Because it's good if we're all on the same page. This is so important in Vaishnava activities that the study of these literatures becomes clear to all of us. This is wanted. Okay,
Yes,
who'd
Prabhuji.
like to, sorry.
No, I said yes. That's absolutely true.
Okay, let's, who's like to read on for this next paragraph then, please?
I'll read, Prabhu.
Okay.
Yes. Those effects, described as almost mature, refers to the distress from which one is suffering at present, and the effects lying as seed means that in the core of the heart there is a certain stock of sinful desires which are like seeds. The Sanskrit word kutam means that they are almost ready to produce the seed or the effect of the seed. An immature effect refers to the case where the seedling has not begun. From this statement of Padma Puran, it is understood that material contamination is very subtle. Its beginning, its fruition, and results. How one suffers such results in the form of distress are part of a great chain. When one catches some disease, it is often very difficult to ascertain the cause of the disease, where it originated, and how it is maturing. The suffering of a disease, however, does not appear all of a sudden. It actually takes time, and as in the medical, ads in the medical field for precaution's sake, the doctor injects a vaccination to prevent the growing of contamination. Similarly, the practical injection to stop all the fructification of the seeds of our sinful activities is simply engagement in Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Very good. So that's it. We need a medic. We need a spiritual master who can engage us practically in devotional service. And these literatures are Prabhupada's kindness because he's helping us engage in devotional service through the process of hearing and understanding the transcendental science. So this is very important. In this way, Srila Prabhupada is actually the Siksha Guru for all of us. And in due course, we hope everyone will take Diksha, take spiritual initiation, which is very important. But we shouldn't neglect the Siksha, because the Siksha is the guiding process by which we understand the whole program of Krishna consciousness, we understand the science of Krishna. So not just how, but also why, and how to change the whole landscape of being engaged in material activities, practically guided so we can be engaged 24/7 in Krishna consciousness. So this point that the suffering of a disease doesn't appear all of a sudden, it takes time. So we should know that just because I'm not suffering from all the sinful reactions at the moment doesn't mean they're not headed my way. Yeah. And the whole principle is inoculation. And Prabhupada explains in the Bhagavad Gita that actually taking prasadam is a very powerful method of vaccination to inoculate us from the effects of the onslaught of material energy. Because the material energy is always encouraging us to engage in activities for our own happiness, as opposed to Krishna's happiness. The advertising campaigns are there. Do this, get this, and enjoy. You know, that's how the whole material world is working. It's a big promotional experience. Maya is promoting that engage in these materialistic activities and you'll be happy. It's a lie. Because these materialistic activities not only produce reactions, but they never actually deliver the happiness which we're looking for, which is the experience of the happiness of love of Krishna. So therefore, we need to be inoculated from the effect of material existence, material energy, and taking prasadam and chanting Hare Krishna are the vaccination, actually. And regularly we have to have, continuous shots, because the onslaught of material nature doesn't stop. But the protection against the influence of material nature is always required. So it's just like if you're going out into a hostile environment and you're having to do battle. Suppose you're on a battlefield, you're in a hostile environment. So you better take your armor and your weapons and be ready for trouble, because trouble is out there. So we should be properly inoculated from the effects. We should be protected from the onslaught of the material nature. And therefore, taking only Krishna prasadam is very important, because actually as we learn to offer our food to Krishna, then actually that, and not eating anything which hasn't first been offered to Krishna, is a very important point. Because that not only the act of offering the food with love to Krishna is very powerful, it's actually encouraging us to develop that mentality, but also the actual taking of Krishna prasadam, the saying is that you are what you eat. So if you only eat Krishna prasadam, pure sanctified food, then actually our whole existence becomes purified, because our bodies are made of cells which are produced from what we actually ingest, what we're eating. And if we're, as Krishna points out in Bhagavad Gita, he says, those who take foods which are not offered to me, they're papam. They're actually verily eating only sin. So we should be very careful to make sure that somehow or other we work out a plan and mold our lives in such a way so that whatever we're going to eat or drink is actually first offerable and offered to Krishna with love. And this is actually a very powerful program. And of course, the chanting of Hare Krishna, this hearing and chanting, these two things go very strongly together. If we hear nicely regularly, that will also nurture our chanting regularly, so that we'll actually be appreciating what we're chanting. And chanting, of course, kirtan doesn't mean just chanting Hare Krishna, it means also helping others understand about Krishna, explaining the science of Krishna to others. So when that opportunity comes, we have an opportunity to help others understand about Krishna. We should happily take that opportunity and find a suitable way of bringing Krishna into the conversation, something that will actually help that person and ourselves simultaneously understand the science of Krishna. And of course, the chanting on our beads, and all the activities, having kirtan with the devotees, chanting Hare Krishna mantra is so powerful that gradually the impact of the material energy becomes less and less and less. And we can become fixed in our Krishna consciousness. So any questions or comments or thoughts on this from anyone, please?
Prabhuji, just want to add on to what you said. We had in one of the classes, like last month, there was a little para where it said that prasadam is what purifies us of all the sins and everything, and it's very good wish that we, as Vaishnavas, we should eat non prasadam food for another reason, and that is eating non prasadam food. It strengthens our bonds with the material world. Whereas if we eat prasadam, it's good for the body, good for the man, good for your spiritual growth as well.
Yes, it's essential actually, because the whole point here that's being mentioned is how to get free from pap, or sinful reaction. And Krishna is saying if we eat foods which are not offered to him, then we're actually eating more pap. And that is actually going to create further problems for us as life develops. So it's not only physically very healthy, but spiritually it's essential that we actually get ourselves free from the reactions. Otherwise, we're continuing our material existence, which is not a good idea. But the whole process of taking prasadam, offering it to Krishna, and taking Krishna prasadam is actually getting us gradually free from material existence and protecting us from being reinfected by the material engagements. So thank you for that, Amit Prabhu. Yes. Okay, any other thoughts? Anyone like to add or questions?
Prashant Prabhu raised his hand. Prashant Prabhu, go ahead.
I'm sorry, say again.
Prashant Prabhu, he raised his hand, so I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, Prashant Prabhu, please come in, join the party. Can we see you? Yes, there you are. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Sorry, my kid is troubling me. That's why, Prabhuji, I'm just listening from background.
Okay.
Prabhuji, Prabhuji, my query was like sinful activities, like any sinful activity we do led to karmic reactions. Does that means like any non-Krishna activity is a sinful activity? Like sometimes, like we like I have some bad habits, like playing, like watching mobile, or doing anything which is non-Krishna consciousness. Does it like do you have we have some hobbies like which we cannot leave, or we are it's inhibited us in us, like it's difficult for us to leave, like reading some books which is non-Krishna consciousness, or I have a bad habit of playing mobile games, which I know like it's non-Krishna consciousness activity. But does it it is not a sinful activity, but what I believe.
Yes, these activities, they are engaging us in satisfaction of our own senses. Yes?
Yes, Prabhuji.
So as devotees, we need to understand that the whole program is to come to the platform of engaging simply in activities for the satisfaction of Krishna. So the more we understand this point, the easier it is for us to gradually give up the bad habits. And thank you for your honesty in sharing these things, because actually we all of us have got so many material tendencies. So the question is that we have natural tendencies. And a classic example is Arjuna. He was on the battlefield. His tendency as a Kshatriya was to engage always in practicing and getting better and better at his archery. But at the same time, he was always thinking of Krishna and relating everything to Krishna. And when it came to actually practicing those activities on the battlefield, he was engaging those activities so that he could serve Krishna more nicely. He was killing people. And Prabhupada, he also gave a nice example that he said, my hobby was hearing from my Guru Maharaj. So we may have different hobbies and things that we like to pursue, but as we gradually come to our senses and recognize that the activities, how can we dovetail our activities with Krishna? How can we dovetail those propensities? So, for example, someone might like to cook, and if we like to read, or if we like to watch the YouTube movies or whatever it may be, then if we try to dovetail those so that we're actually learning how to serve Krishna better, how to execute our service to Krishna better, then this will be less contaminating. In fact, it won't be contaminating, because these other things, they're filling our minds with ideas of enjoying this material world. So actually, we need to really concentrate on filling up our hearts. It's just like if you take a glass of milk, yes? You've got a glass of milk, and if it's full of ink, then the process is you keep pouring the milk into it, and gradually the ink is displaced, and the whole glass becomes full of milk. So somehow or other, we need to find ways of dovetailing our activities for the satisfaction of Krishna. So practically speaking, I mean, personally, I sometimes watch YouTube videos, and if I have some service to do, like for example, I do DIY work, and I find that some of these videos, they teach me different skills that I can utilize so I can do that work more nicely in the service of Krishna and in the service of his devotees. And I try to use those skills for actually helping devotees sort out their maintenance problems in their houses. So those are some practical ways that can be dovetailed. And there are so many nice YouTube videos from Ramayana, Mahabharata, and YouTube videos that devotees are presenting. So, but the problem is sometimes we've got the taste for these mundane experiences, and we haven't yet got the taste for the spiritual experience. But it's just like if you have a child and the child doesn't want to eat some particular type of food. How is that child going to get the taste? Somehow or other, without actually trying it and actually getting the taste, they're never going to get the taste. So trying to actually engage in those things where we can actually get the taste of serving Krishna is very, very powerful. Because in the end, it's all about that nice cookbook we have called The Higher Taste. We have to somehow or other get the higher taste. And the only way we're going to get the higher taste is by doing it. We've got to taste it. And that way only can we actually get the higher taste. And that's why having the association of devotees is so helpful, because that association helps encourage us towards more devotionally focused activities, and those activities which will actually purify the heart, as opposed to keeping us entangled in the idea that life is meant for my enjoyment. We have to learn the art of becoming engaged for Krishna's satisfaction, for Krishna's enjoyment. Just like Gaurangi was very nicely expressing that nice verse, Patram Pushpam Palam Toyam Yome Bhaktya Prayachati, that actually by offering our food to Krishna, then Krishna becomes pleased. That's a simple example. And when we honor that prasadam, when we take the remnants of Krishna's food stuff, we also become pleased. So it doesn't just apply to the food. Krishna is saying, Yat karoshi yarashnasi yajjuhosi dadasi yat tapasyasi konteya tat kurushva madarpanam. He's saying all that you do, all that you eat, all that you offer and give away in sacrifice, as well as austerities and all penances you perform, do that as an offering unto me. So if you want to please someone, do you do things which please you or which please them? So that's the whole idea. We have to learn to try to do those things and try to be engaged in those things which are pleasing to Krishna. And without actually doing that, we never will get the full taste. So it's a gradual, it sometimes takes time to transfer our activities to Krishna. It's just like you've got a big tanker going through the ocean, and to turn it around and change direction isn't always a quick process, but it's a gradual process. But we actually have to engage in that gradual process. I think I've given that example before of the chap who goes to the dentist, and the dentist tells him, we're going to have to take your tooth out, and it's going to cost you £300 to have your tooth removed. And the chap says, what? £300? But it's only going to take a few moments. So he says, well, I can do it slowly if you like. So in the same way, it's a question of actually keeping nice association of devotees so we can make steady progress on the path of becoming devotees of Krishna, fully devotees of Krishna. Is that okay, Prashant Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji, I know, but sometimes like mind tricks you. Like it says, like, yeah, it's okay. You have done your chanting. You have uh, like done reading as well, and it's okay if you like it's your hobby. You're doing it from years. It's okay if you take out half an hour for you. It will like it tricks you. So it's difficult for sometimes. Like I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we've become over so many births addicted to activities to satisfy our own body and mind. But one thing we can learn is that Krishna is saying that the whole process is actually coming down to controlling the mind, because the mind is actually a bit of a rascal. And the mind will say, yes, now you've done all your service to Krishna, now you serve me. And
Yes,
that's the
Prabhuji.
problem. And therefore, Krishna's advising that real yoga practice, bhakti yoga practice, means that whenever the mind wanders, due to its flickering and unsteady nature, Krishna's saying, bring it back and fix it on the self. So if we're hearing very nicely, and it's going in one ear and coming out of the other, instead of actually making the effect on the heart, we shouldn't be too fanatical, but we should be trying to find ways in which we can dovetail our activities for the satisfaction of Krishna. It's not that we need to stop activity, but we need to get a higher taste of activities which will help us make progress towards Krishna. And therefore preaching and book distribution are very, but we need to actually be able to look at our own activities and see, well, what are the things that are holding me back? And what are the things that are actually helping me make progress? So we have to be able to introspect in our own lives, as clearly you're doing, and seeing, because you're expressing this, because I can understand that you're saying, well, maybe these things aren't so helpful. Yeah. So how to actually transfer the unhealthy activities so they become healthy activities. And if we can find ways of dovetailing those things, that will be for our benefit. Is that
Yes,
okay,
Prabhu.
Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, exactly. We know, Prabhuji, these things, but uh, like, uh, but as I said, like, uh,
We have
you
habits.
distracted sometimes, and you know, like, it's a non-Krishna consciousness activity, and then you feel guilty as well. Like, yeah, I know, but I've like, then I quickly come back. Oh no, it's not. This is for my enjoyment. No, it's doing something I'm wrong. Things like this happen to me. So yeah.
Okay, well, here's an example then. Suppose one watches a movie, okay, and in that movie, all sorts of things are going on, and you see that generally people are becoming infected by Maya, and they're engaged in the movie. And if we look at all the different points, I'm just giving an example, all the different points that remind us about Krishna, or they remind us about the philosophy of Krishna or Krishna's activities, um, and the effects of the material energy, because generally in the movies, you see that people are all experiencing the consequences of so many activities. Yeah. They're experiencing the consequences of activities they've done or activities that they've done that they didn't know they'd done. And they're getting the reactions and the difficult implications in life anyway. Or they're getting the pleasures that are also coming from previous pious activities. So, but looking at the reactions of those activities and seeing, well, how could that person actually change? What could actually have done? Maybe that person could meet a devotee and actually start to get engaged in spiritual life, so they can actually start to think about pleasing Krishna. I'm just giving some suggestions off the top of my head so that we can see maybe how to relate everything to Krishna. And the more we hear about Krishna, then and the more everything is dovetailed with Krishna, and the more everything is focused on Krishna, then gradually the lower taste becomes replaced with the higher taste, and we can learn to be actually disgusted with material activities. And the more we become interested in practical spiritual activities. The trick is dovetailing everything for the satisfaction of Krishna. If we have those predilections, just see how they can all be related to Krishna. This is my suggestion to you. Does that make some sense, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah. Yes, definitely. Thank you, Prabhuji. Yes.
Okay. All right. Any other comments or thoughts or suggestions on this?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, this is Shubhrajyoti Day.
True.
The Rupesh's friend actually.
Okay.
So today is the first day I'm attending your class. It's very nice, and we met Prabhu, you, and whenever you were in Swindon, if you remember, and we had your also humble presence at our residence as well. We had a good session with you on that day. It was some time back actually when you came here for some social service, social and spiritual service.
Prabhuji, tell your son's name. Prabhuji will remember him.
Sunny,
Sunny.
Sunny.
Ah,
Sunny
yes.
sat with you for a while actually, if you
Sunny,
remember,
Sunny.
Prabhu.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Hare Krishna, Sunny. Very good to hear from you, even if
Hare
I can't
Krishna.
see you. Thank
Oh,
you,
I
Prabhuji.
think I haven't switched. Actually, I am at my workplace still. Actually, it's been very busy. I don't know. Am I? Are you able to see me right now?
Yes, I can see you. Yes. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Nice meeting you. My pranam to you and all humble obeisances, and my regards to you as well. I have a small questions in regards to your statement, actually, Prabhu.
Okay.
You know, we all try our very best, okay, to devote time for Krishna consciousness, for spiritual activity, for good activity, just like you do social services. But honestly, the current situations, time, and everything is such, you know, it becomes very difficult day by day. The current conditions of, Prabhu, the current condition of the country is not great. And people who have loans, debts, people who have family, children, young people in the house, they have to overwork to meet the financial demands of the family sustenance and so on, social responsibilities, etc. So over the past couple of months or years, what I realized is that I felt, although I'm trying hard to practice with Rupesh and others, you know, but I'm getting drifted away from practicing, actually, because the current situational conditions are like that. It's work, 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 and earn money, money, money just to live your life. But we hardly see a penny in the bank, actually, isn't it?
So we have duties to perform in this world,
Yeah. So that's
but
what
the
we are
point,
doing. So how can we practice Krishna consciousness 24 hours a day is our limitations. You can see me, Prabhu. I don't know whether you can see some corner of my laptop or not.
I can
While I
see
am
you.
with you,
Yes,
also I'm working.
I can see you. It's not a problem. Yeah. Hare Krishna. I can see you, Prabhu. So your
Only
question,
Krishna, only God understands me. No, I didn't get a chance to take shower. Say, people might think I'm dirty, but no time to take break. Just attend nature's calls, and after that, only office calls. And this is the call I am attending. you know.
so the principle is that actually we should know that the person who's maintaining us is actually Krishna. And although we may be thinking that we are doing the maintaining, actually we're only acting in different ways. But the maintenance is actually provided by Krishna. So part of devotional service is actually learning how to depend on Krishna, because actually he is providing everything that we have, other facilities, even our capabilities to do so many different
Mm.
things. This is actually provided by Krishna. For example, if we have the ability to use our hands or legs or digest food or go to the bathroom or to act in so many different ways to work, that's actually being provided by Krishna. What to speak of the fruits of our activities? So, in every way, everything is connected to Krishna. But due to our misguided understanding, we forget about Krishna at every moment of our lives. So, the whole principle is actually to learn how to see everything in relationship with Krishna. And it's an example was given, excuse me, by
Mm.
one teacher. Uh, he was explaining to his students. He had a big pot, a big glass pot, and he brought it into the classroom. And he had piles of different things. He had some big rocks, and he had some medium-sized rocks, and some small rocks, and some sand, and some water. So uh, he started putting all the sand and the water and filled up the container. And then he asked the students, so how are we going to put everything else in? So the principle was that they said, well, it's all full. So it's all right, let's start again. So let's start putting in the big rocks. And then we'll put in some of the medium-sized rocks around them. And said, okay, now is it full? And they said, yes, it looks pretty full. They said, all right, well, now let's put in the small pebbles. Is it full now? Yeah, it's full. He said, all right, now let's put in the sand. And that's also going around and filling up everything. And is it full? Yes, it's full. He said, all right, now let's put in the water. And he's pouring in the water, and it's still room to get in there. So the idea being that we need to actually focus on the big rocks, the ones that are most important. And it's then a question of priorities. We need to prioritize that if I want to make progress in my spiritual life, I actually have to put some of my time focused on the really important spiritual things, because otherwise it's all materialistic life.
You're right, Prabhu. But if I do that, if I try to dedicate the time, I don't meet the financial demands.
But do you think that
Still,
Krishna won't take care of you?
sorry?
Do you think that Krishna won't help you and help you take care of you if you try to act for him?
Maybe I'm not getting the right help from Krishna.
So
Honestly,
the whole point is that,
I'm not getting any help from Krishna. I tell you, honestly, I hand on my heart, actually.
but the thing is, if you want Krishna to help you, you have to do something for Krishna. And it's not a business transaction.
I've done a lot of things actually for Krishna.
Yeah,
I've started practicing with Rupesh, and I have whatever Rupesh says, I try to follow as much as I can actually. But my life is in a decline actually, and
actually,
my struggle
believe it
goes
or
on.
not, everyone's life is in decline. We're all getting old. We're all going to get diseased, and we're all going to die. Is anyone's life not in decline? But actually, spiritually, as if we hear what Krishna is saying, he's saying actually for the soul, there is never birth nor death. And he's giving the principle that as if we advance in our consciousness of Krishna, then we're actually preparing ourselves very wisely for the next birth that we inevitably have to take. So let me put it like this. I'm going to be pretty blunt here, so please forgive me if I'm being blunt.
No, absolutely, yeah, please.
What do you see as a creature who's just working hard 24/7? What's a creature that works hard 24/7? An animal, for example, or some insect.
Is it bird or insect?
Well,
Bird or
I mean, you see that the animals, on the insects and the birds and the fishes, they engage in four things, just the four materialistic activities of life, which the human beings are also doing: eating, sleeping, mating, and defending themselves from the onslaughts of material nature.
Yeah.
But this activity, without keeping the focus on the spiritual activities, remains on the animal platform. So unless we're actually focusing on developing our consciousness in connection with Krishna, in spite of whatever activities we're doing, and this is the point I was trying to make to Prashant Prabhu, is that if the activities are not generating spiritual consciousness, then actually we're developing the consciousness which is preparing us for our next birth. Do you see what I'm saying?
True. My
So
activities are dragging me away from spiritual consciousness, honestly.
I'm sorry, say again.
Well, my activities drags me away from spiritual consciousness.
So the point is that we have duties to perform. Arjuna had duties to perform, but
That's what I'm doing.
Krishna's advice to him was change the consciousness. He said, do those activities to please me. He says, don't be afraid of doing your duty. Always do your duty, but do that duty for my satisfaction. If we're thinking, if our consciousness is that I'm acting for my satisfaction or extending that selfish mentality to my extended self-interest simply for my family or my society or my nation or my planet, then those activities are simply extended self-interest. So, but when we do those activities because the activities ought to be done, but we do them with a mood that, my dear Krishna, let me engage in my duties simply for your pleasure. Krishna's not saying stop the duties, but he's saying change the consciousness. Learn the simple technique that those activities can be done as a sacrifice to please Krishna. And I'll give you that nice example that one Acharya he gave about how Arjuna, he was asking Krishna, but Krishna, how can fighting and killing all these people be a sacrifice? And what Krishna told him was, yes, the Kaurava army are the fire, and your arrows are the ghee, and your bow Gandiva is the spoon, and you, Arjuna, are the Brahmin. So in that way, the Brahmin, he uses the ghee, he uses the spoon to take the ghee and nourish the fire, like that.
Yeah.
And in the same way, if we can somehow or other learn to see how to dovetail our activities for the satisfaction of Krishna, Krishna wants us to do our duties and at the same time think of him. Yes?
So how to do that? How my activities will make Krishna happy or will be used in praise of Krishna?
The only way that will make Krishna happy is if we do it in the consciousness that they're to be done for his satisfaction.
Okay, so my consciousness will be the main thing, that I am doing this job. This job is for Krishna.
Yes. So try to act as a matter of duty, because Krishna will be pleased if you do that duty for him. Arjuna was going to have to fight and kill all these people anyway. But Krishna told him, all right, don't give up doing your duty, but do it because I'm asking you to do your duty. So Krishna is asking us all to do our duties, but to do it simply with the consciousness that doing our duty in such a way that Krishna becomes pleased, doing it thinking of Krishna. So Krishna's advice, twice he gives this point in Bhagavad Gita. He says, Man mana bhavamad bhakta madhyaji mam namaskaru. He says, always think of me, become my devotee, worship me and offer your homage to me. So we have to get up in the morning. What can we do first of all? We can offer our obeisances, namaskar to Krishna, mam namaskaru. And while we're, even if we're working hard and everything's being done on the run, it doesn't stop us chanting Hare Krishna while we're taking a shower or preparing our food or thinking of Krishna. And after offering the food first of all to Krishna, preparing it, when we're preparing food, we prepare it in such a way that Krishna will accept it. Those things which are offerable to Krishna, and make sure that food is first offered to Krishna. This is extremely powerful, because this is, as we were discussing earlier, this is helping to inoculate us from the onslaught of the material energy, which is forcing us to work like a hamster in a cage. It has that spinning wheel and the hamster's running, and he's not getting anywhere, except he's getting older.
So whatever we eat, we have to offer to Krishna and then we eat actually.
Yes.
But if that's the case actually, then the first thing we in the morning what we have to do is take a shower, and then only we can offer the food to God actually.
That's a good
And that
idea.
means we can have tea, coffee, or any of the drinks, isn't it? Which gives us energy. The morning drinks actually, isn't it?
You have a shower, yes. Because actually, we need to understand who this body belongs to.
Hmm.
It's only on loan to us.
Yeah, I
Actually, it
agree.
belongs to Krishna. If we understand that everything belongs to Krishna, then
Hmm.
everything actually is meant to be used for his satisfaction because it's his property. And actually, we have to look after this body and keep it in good health because it's Krishna's property and it's meant to be used for his service. So, changing the consciousness that actually this is Krishna's body, it belongs to him, I must keep it nicely and utilize it for him, that starts to change everything. And Krishna will definitely help us develop on our devotional path. The more we try to understand from the Lord and his devotees how to be engaged practically, how to dovetail ourselves in the service of Krishna, dovetail our activities. So it's not, nothing is there to stop us doing those activities. But those activities are duties which we can understand. Nobody can understand better than ourselves, perhaps, what our specific duties are. But it's a question of who we're doing the duties to please.
Prabhu, just continuing on this one, I just wanted to share with Shubhrati Prabhu a couple of points. Like Prabhuji, it's about entanglement. Like you have to lose some material battles to be spiritual or win some big war in spiritual life. You have to,
No,
from
let's
personal
say
experiences, what I'm suggesting is we have to, as Prabhuji said, we have to prioritize, right? So getting into some commitment, before we get into some commitment, we have to prioritize, is it going to affect my spiritual life? Like for example, if I have to do something for my kids or for my wife, but is it necessity or is it their desire? And because of which, if I am going to spend 2 3 hours for my
oh,
kid or my wife, is it going to impact my spiritual life? Then if answer is yes, then we have to really think, or we have to see that, okay, maybe I don't want to commit to such something like this, right? So as Prabhuji said, priorities, right? So we have to lose some material matters, like what is the difference between necessity and what we need, and then we will find, that's what my personal experience is, then we'll find a lot of time for spiritual activities. But you have to prioritize, and you have to see like what is a necessity for a life, or for dependent on you or for yourself, and then you will have time. So it's about like you have to prioritize. So it's like once you're committed, then you have to spend that time. I agree what you're saying, you don't have time, but before commitment only that this is also onslaught of Maya, where a lot of good things, Maya tricks us, like, okay, this is also good, this is really good for my like future life, this is good for my kids, this is good for my wife, this all this happens, and then we commit, and then once we commit, then we end up sacrificing all our time, or whatever spiritual time what we will have, we end up sacrificing all that time for those activities, and then we will not have time. So like before taking such decisions, or before making such decisions which is going to impact our spiritual life, that also we need to balance. So that's what my sort of personal experience is. Like before committing itself, you need to be very careful, like is it going to impact my spiritual life? Whatever 1 hour, 30 minutes, 20 minutes you are doing, uh, uh, we have to think like whether that particular task or that particular thing I'm going to commit to for myself, my family, my wife, for whoever it is, financial or non-financial, that's going to, if it's going to impact, then we have to be careful, like whether it's going to that's going to impact the spiritual life, and then whether we should go for it or not. So that's something I feel like we get entangled, and then coming out of that entanglement is again very difficult, right? So that's what I feel.
No, true, but I tell you, I don't know about others, but myself actually, I lead a very simple life, a very basic life, and a hand-to-mouth life actually. It's not something I am, not a very high five, but then also the current situations is such, meeting the demands has been very difficult,
So
very
those
much.
those demands, I don't think
Unless
demands.
and until you are a millionaire or a billionaire, either A or B, these are the two things which can help you do spiritual practice. Otherwise, it's just going as day in and day out, isn't it?
Can I make a suggestion here? Because
Hmm.
actually, when we're practicing Krishna consciousness, we have to gradually find ways in which we can apply ourselves. So I would suggest taking two things on board, Prabhu. One
Hmm.
thing is always keep chanting. Whenever you have any moment, whether you're traveling, whether you're waking up at night, whether you're dreaming at night, whether you're taking your shower, or whether you're preparing your food, keep
Okay.
chanting. That's one thing.
Okay.
And the second thing is, because we're going to eat, try to at least purify the heart and mind by remembering the form of Krishna. Because there is a nice verse, Om Pavitra Pavitrava, that purified or unpurified, or even having passed through all situations, one who remembers the lotus-eyed Supreme Personality of Godhead is certainly cleansed within and without. That doesn't mean we shouldn't take a shower, but it means that at least by remembering Krishna, if we're really, really so much on the run, at least remember Krishna and then make the food as nicely as possible. At least we can wash the hands and face and mouth. At least we can do that. Yes?
Hmm.
And prepare the food in such a way that it's nicely prepared, offer it to Krishna, ask his forgiveness, because that way we're approaching Krishna and saying, please, I've made this food for you. Please accept this humble offering. And
So
just
every time when I prepare food, I should do this. Okay. Hmm.
try to eat only food which has first been offered to Krishna. And gradually we'll find that things will turn around. That I guarantee you. Things will turn around in your life. If we try to
Sure.
do
I
this,
try to actually. Yeah. Well, try to follow.
Uh,
Sorry, go ahead.
can I
I
say
mean,
something here?
yes, yes.
Prabhuji, there's a very small story I want to narrate here. It won't take more than 2 minutes. There was a very famous Krishna devotee in Maharashtra, and he was everyone in the kingdom knew him, and the king used to really feel blessed in his company, in his august company, and there was this place, and in this place there was a businessman who's I mean, in India they also go by the name of Vaishyas, and he wanted to change this businessman from his business mind, materialistic mind, to the Krishna's devotion towards Krishna's devotional mind. I mean, into the Krishna consciousness. Let's say put it that way. And he had no inclination of going towards the Krishna consciousness. And what happened is that um, Tukaramji, so the Vishnu Bhakt, the great saint, his name was Tukaramji. So Sant Tukaramji, he one day while he was passing through the market, and he happened to pass by this businessman's shop, to say, and said that why are you not chanting the holy name, and why are you not in the spirit, growing in spirituality? He said, as usual, I have no time, I have no time, I have no time. But everyone knew the reputation of Tukaramji, that everyone knew that he's a very divine person. He has met Vishnuji, that kind of that was his fame in the area. So Tukaramji said, "Oh, businessman, you're too involved in this materialistic world. You're gonna die in 7 days. All right, you have 7 days left." And he was shocked, and he was like, "Okay, wow, 7 days." So from the very next day, he started chanting, and he started doing he started on his spiritual journey. And 6 days later, Tukaramji went by his shop and said, and he had some jewelry and he had some fancy, nice clothes, and he had like quite a lot of wealth with him. And he said, "Oh, what are you doing? Why are you chanting the names and everything? Why don't you keep this wealth, and why don't you keep this all the diamonds and the gold that I have brought for you from the king? Because king happens to be my shishya. He's given me all his wealth, so I'm passing on this wealth to you. Keep this wealth." And the businessman said, "I can't do that. I'm going to die tomorrow, and how can I do that now?" And Tukaram said, "You're not. Now you understand that we are all meant to die, and then you are going on with your own merry ways of with materialistic things in this world and acquiring all those. But you're not going to die tomorrow. I just kind of made it up." And then the devotee, the businessman, realized that that he was on the wrong path, so he had to mind his ways. And then he thanked Tukaram for enlightening him, and he went on his he started on his spiritual journey. So some days I think in our lives what we see is that we can't make the priorities for us. It's okay to balance and counterbalance and to do this and that, but the core thing should be one thing. Okay, the main objective of the human life is not to be born again. It's about to do what we have been given this body and this this planet for, and that's to serve Krishna, and that's to serve to grow in spirituality, not to grow materialistically. Yes, you do need a little bit of that, but then you don't have to be 24/7 into I need to upgrade my car from like a Golf to a Lamborghini, or I need to buy like a bigger villa, I need to buy a beach house, I need to buy a lot of property back in India. That's not the objective of life, because at the end of the day everything is going to remain in this world, and that nothing goes with you. Well, the only thing that goes with you is that you're a devotional service, or your bhakti. So I'm sorry if I'm if others are feeling that I'm lecturing, but I just want to put my point forward.
Thank you, Amit.
No,
Prabhu.
thank you, Prabhu. You are absolutely right. But in order to sustain the basic minimum, also there is so much of things you can do. For example, since you mentioned about car, over the last 24 hours, I I changed the wheels to 80 pounds for two tires, and I got a bill today. They cannot do the wheel alignment because something got jammed or broken, and I have to pay 120 into 2, that is 240 pounds again, previous to wheel alignment actually. So in a span of 24 hours, I'm spending 600 pounds just to basic survive and sustain. I'm not driving a Lamborghini or anything. A basic cheap car actually works only insignia. That's the basic minimum survival, sustenance. Going to the fuel station, filled up a tank, 85 pounds gone. Still there was fuel in the tank actually. You know, I don't know, 600 pounds is nothing. It's 600, 700 pounds is nothing. How will I survive?
The
Isn't it?
point, can I make a point here, Prabhu?
Hmm.
If we simply try to add Krishna into our activities and our consciousness, then we can start to see changes. It's not that anyone's suggesting you don't have to work so hard, but you can see if we start to remember Krishna more and more in our activity, our daily activities and our consciousness,
Hmm.
when things are actually done for the satisfaction of Krishna. Let me put it like this. All the actions in this material world are being controlled by the demigods. Now, the demigods are acting under the laws of nature, which are the laws given by Krishna. and they're giving people the reactions of their activities. But Krishna's promise in Bhagavad Gita, he said that if you become, and we've been reading this passage in Nectar of Devotion, I'm just putting it from a different angle of vision, that if we start to act for the satisfaction of Krishna, then our karma starts to change. And the activities and problems which were awarded by the material nature also start to change. Because what's changing is our consciousness. That's
So
the very
can I
simple
add something?
principle which, if we can add in Krishna consciousness in our lives, then we can start to actually experience and feel the benefit. Because in spite of whatever difficulties are there, the difficulties may be there or they may go away. They may not go away. But the consciousness changes, and that actually brings, as we'll see in the next, how pure devotional service brings relief from all material distresses. And we can start to experience that. When everything is done for the satisfaction of Krishna, then actually we get relief from these material distresses. And even if we have to work very hard in so many ways, Arjuna wasn't sitting idle. He was always practicing, performing his duties and his activities. But he was always thinking about Krishna. And so he was always blissful. He wasn't harassed in his consciousness. He was actually very peaceful and happy in his consciousness because he was always thinking about Krishna. So rather than being harassed by the material nature, we need to know that everything is under Krishna's control. We need to hear about Krishna. We need to chant about Krishna. We need to take Krishna prasadam and purify our consciousness so that actually we can become happy. And those things don't mean you stop your activities, just we change your consciousness. Is that okay?
That's absolutely fine, Prabhu. You know, one more thing actually, I'd like to add over here. Arjuna had Arjuna had Krishna all around him actually. Then also he had to suffer like the war, actually what he did, killing his own people.
But he was
And he
always
lost
blissful because he was thinking of Krishna.
How can he be blissful by losing his own children? Isn't it? How can a
Because
person gets happy?
because he heard and he understood Krishna's message. Because just like in the beginning, when he was bewildered and he's asking Krishna that I don't want to fight, I'm in distress and my skin is burning, I'm dropping my bow Gandiva and I'm unable to stand here any longer, my skin is burning, my hair is standing on end, and I'm in distress. That was because Krishna put him in that bewilderment. So he would ask Krishna those questions. And so when Krishna explained all those answers to him, and he'd understood Bhagavad Gita, he said, yes, Karishe Vachanantava. Now I'm ready to act according to your direction, because he'd understood Krishna's message of Bhagavad Gita. And he also expressed that I'm no longer bewildered. Actually, he's no longer bewildered by the influence of the material energy. He's heard Krishna's message, and now he's ready to act for the satisfaction of Krishna. And as we see from the very end of Bhagavad Gita, because Sanjaya, he's relating this conversation to Dhritarashtra, and he's saying that actually remembering this conversation, I'm experiencing a thrill at every moment. And he was only witnessing the conversation. He wasn't actually speaking with Krishna, actually, just remembering Krishna's instructions. He's saying that actually this is the process by which one becomes relieved from all the stresses of life. So work as much as you feel you need to do, but be blissful by remembering Krishna. It's Krishna's order. You should become happy. How to become happy? Always think of me, become my devotee.
Remember Krishna. I understood.
This
This
is the
part I
only
understood.
this is the only thing to change. Thinking of Krishna always. Because it comes down to two regulative principles. Always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. It's as simple as that.
No, I got your point on this. I'll try. I'll try to implement whatever you have said today, actually, sir. But
Okay.
one thing I realized after starting practicing, I have experienced downfall
After what, sorry?
in my. After I started practicing, of course, I don't practice like you guys or other devotees. But after I started practicing, after I met Rupesh, and slowly, when I got associated with him. But I experienced downfall in my career, downfall in my financial activities, finances, downfall in my life. Everything is going wrong actually.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
that's
can
what I'll try to be
understand.
blissful by remembering Krishna, but I experienced downfall.
No, it's not by remembering Krishna. Your
Yeah.
karma is your karma. You can't blame Krishna for your karma.
Yeah, my karma changed within a span of 1 year. You know, just
Yeah,
it
but
went upside down.
do you think that
Life went upside down,
do you
isn't it?
think that distresses don't come out of the blue for everyone? Everyone's experiencing distresses in this world. Everyone's experiencing happiness in this world. And whatever we're meant to experience by happiness and distress, we're going to experience anyway. But by focusing on Krishna, that isn't the cause of your distress. We've been reading in Nectar of Devotion how everyone's getting the results of their past activities. It isn't that by remembering Krishna, you're getting bad results of your activities. That's your karma anyway. Whatever we're going to, whatever
My
suffering.
karma changed in 1 year. Only when I started practicing, everything was going great for me actually.
Yeah,
Before I started to
but
practice.
how can you blame Krishna for your karma? It's just like I go to prisons quite a lot. And if the prisoners say it's all the government's fault that I'm suffering, is that sensible? They're taking the consequences of their own activities. So the karma is very unfortunate. Just like you see all these people suffering in Gaza and in Israel and in Ukraine and so many places in the Arab countries, they're busy killing each other. But is that because they're worshipping Krishna? No, everyone's getting their karma. And whatever time you're due to get your karma, you're going to get it. And some people are enjoying life in Hawaii or on their yacht or whatever.
Right.
They're getting their karma. But that karma
So
is
that's a
temporary.
good karma actually.
But why are you blaming Krishna that you're getting the results of your activities?
Because things changed after I
Yeah, but
started
that's the nature of
practicing.
the world.
It was my life
Do
was.
you ever do you see anyone's situation in this world as being static? Everything is always changing. This body is changing. The body is getting old. The body is dying. We're going to have to change our bodies. Do you think that any situation in this world is meant for living permanently in one stable situation? It's not. The situation will always change in this world. That's the nature of the world that we've taken birth in. We can't blame Krishna for that. We've chosen to come to the material world, and by hearing Krishna's messages from Bhagavad Gita, we can start to understand the nature of this material world that we've chosen to take birth in. So now we need to look seriously at the program for getting out of the material world, where birth, death, and old age and disease are no longer a problem, and where we don't have to work hard 24/7 like a hamster running around in a cage. Do you see what I'm saying?
And yeah, distress, depression, all those things are there in the material world.
Yeah, you're equating your happiness and distress with the results of trying to serve Krishna. But this is a mistake. We should see that the results of our own activities are going to come and get us from the activities we've performed in this life and in previous lives. And therefore, we have to learn to tolerate those things. Just like, do you think it's always going to be summer? Summer will change into autumn,
No.
and autumn will change into winter, and winter will change into spring, and again, summer will come. So the changes in this material world are an inevitable fact of life. But we shouldn't blame Krishna because it's all of a sudden it's winter and the summer has changed into winter. Do you see the point I'm making, Prabhu?
I understood your point.
So don't think that by taking up Krishna, actually by taking the activities of Krishna consciousness, what's happening is you're actually changing your future. The present we have to deal with, but what about our future? Are we living just for today and to hell with tomorrow? We need to look and be serious about future existence, because we are going to have to leave this body, and what then? So I'm speaking, I hope, very plainly. We need to stop thinking that by serving Krishna, we're plunging ourselves into distress. Distresses are going to come of their own sweet will.
Like maybe bad planetary constellations, planets' effects on me.
Yeah,
actually.
but those planetary arrangements are the way that the karma is delivered. The karma is coming to us, and it's by the arrangement of the demigods and the different planets that our karma is experienced and delivered.
No, true. I understand that.
But the point is, as Krishna is pointing out at the end of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is pointing out that if we simply surrender to him, that he's going to wipe the slate clean. Finished. All the karma gone.
If I would like to surrender to him, actually. If my
so it's a surrendering process. And the surrendering process begins with hearing regularly about Krishna and chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Because
I do it daily. I do it daily, actually.
Sorry?
I do it daily, twice a day. Or maybe once a day.
Why only twice a day?
Yeah. Like today I will do once a day, actually. So twice a day means morning and evening? Morning I do it.
Morning and evening, but what about all the time in between? If our consciousness is engaged in that way, that let me do these activities, but Krishna, let me not forget you. Let me do these activities because I must do my duties to satisfy you.
Okay. True.
Is it okay?
Well, yeah, from now on I'll say, I'll remember this, yes. You see, Prabhu, I'm still one on my desks and everything. Night also I have to work. But it's a pleasure talking to you. I learned a lot. I will continue with this topic as well because it's getting late for you as well. I'm happy to talk, but it's getting pretty late for you. One thing you told, like get up in the early, but how can I? I work at night. That means I will not sleep.
Well, even when we sleep, we can chant Hare Krishna when we go to sleep. So we can go to sleep thinking of Krishna and wake up thinking of Krishna.
Yeah, that's true. But wake up in the morning to get more time for regular
Prabhuji,
activity.
I'm very conscious that we have so many other devotees here.
Oh, sorry for that. Please carry on.
And if you want to have some one-to-one discussion, I'm happy to do that. But I'm conscious that Sachin, Narayan, Prashant, Amit, and Rupesh is already gone. So I want to actually bring things to a halt for tonight, if we may. But please take what we've discussed on board, and we can discuss further another time.
Yeah, I'll take it on board, and we meet in a week's time. I will let you know. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
You're most welcome. Thank you, Prabhuji, and thank you for your questions, because these are
Sorry, I
burning
took
questions
my
of life.
apologies to everyone, to all the devotees. I took, I think, half an hour or maybe more than half an hour. But you explained things very, very nicely, Prabhu, and I have taken on board. I will remember, and I will give you feedbacks in a week's time.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Thank you
And
so much. Thank you so much, Rudrajati Prabhu and Trivanana Prabhu. I mean, this is
Thank you,
great
thank you,
discussion. Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot for
thank you,
the.
Prabhu, all of you. It was just too personal, and sorry to take your time up.
No, no,
Actually,
no, no. Don't
all
worry
of
about
you.
our time. Yeah, I mean, we
Super.
are also enlightened by your questions as well as the lot of
No, no,
answers
no.
and
It was too
examples.
personal. I'm sorry. I'm just learning. I'm just
No,
starting. You guys are experienced, actually. In
everyone is learning, Prabhu. But with your questions, we got to know so much. We get a lot of treasure from Prabhuji, so that's really helpful.
yes,
Altogether
yes, yes.
discussions, but
Prabhu,
and that when the discussions come, that's when Prabhuji reveals us these great secrets.
yeah.
So thank you so
No,
much.
thank you so much, Prabhu, and thanks, Rupesh bhai, for introducing me to this session. And basically, Prabhu, it's a blessing to be associated with you, Prabhu.
and
And
Blessings.
thank
devotees.
you all for keeping me on my toes. And because actually, if you're going to fight, you have to keep practicing. Yes.
Hmm.
Yes,
And
Prabhuji. Yes.
sometimes you have to keep practicing how to discuss, how to actually preach, how to actually connect and understand what is our situation, and how to actually go forward and make progress in our situation. So I'd just like to ask if anybody else has any final comments or questions before we wind up for the night, please. Sachin,
Yes,
Amit,
Prabhuji. No, no,
Narayan.
it was very nice. It was very nice and kind of good conversation, and like big blessings from you, Prabhuji. I always enjoy these sessions, and we all are kind of in this group. We all are sailing in the same boat of materialistic, where we have materialistic desire, and we're trying to move it from one stream to another stream. So I think this is gonna keep on happening in our lives. So we just have to, I think, carry on the path of spirituality with the heart and soul, and there's not, things are not in our control. Okay, things are not in anyone's control. So
They're
it's
under
just that
Krishna's control.
that's the way it is. Yeah, they are in Krishna's control, but not in our controls.
Yeah. Okay. And he always has the best wishes of his devotees at heart. And
Yes,
sometimes
Prabhuji.
Krishna gives us facilities, and we become very happy when we get facilities. But sometimes Krishna takes away our facilities, and that's also for our benefit. And we may not
Yes,
even see
yes,
that at the moment.
totally agree with you.
But when we come back next time, I've got a nice story to share with you about that. So we can discuss. It's a
Yes,
very
definitely.
educational story.
Thank you, sir. You are a wealth of knowledge, and we are very blessed for your divine presence and divine teachings. I'll practice everything, whatever you mention, and I'll give you feedbacks in a week's time.
TK, very good. Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Hare
Okay,
Prabhu.
Krishna.
thank you all very much indeed for your company. It's very good to have the association of devotees, because in the association of devotees, we can learn so many things,
Sure.
and can also help each other understand so many things. So really